I know what you're thinking the minute you click this on. Oh, Alien vs. Predator. Another movie property mixed with a board game. Can it be good? Usually they're not. The success rate is usually not that good. But Alien vs. Predator, The Hunt Begins by Proteus Games, is a very interesting game. Why don't we go down to the table and take a look? I'm not going to show you all the components, but I'm going to show you the most important things and show you how this is pretty much played, as well as I'm not going to be able to go over all the rules, but I will be able to give you a good feel for this game. So let's talk about a few things. First, we have our tiles. Then we have our alien models that come with it, our human models, and our predators. You get 3 factions in this game. You get the aliens, the humans, and the predators, and each have different type of missions that can mingle with each other. You get a number of doors. The cards here, you get stat cards for each race. Here we have the environmental cards. We'll explain these cards as they go, but these cards basically on each turn can change the whole game. Something can happen that'll simulate random events taking place on the deck of the spacecraft. What we have here is mission cards. They provide an interesting random aspect to the game, making sure that no 2 missions will play out in the same way, especially when you use the ability to build your own dungeons. It gives you a flexibility so no 2 games are the same. Then we have the strategy cards for each race. Here we have the Predator strategy cards, then the Alien strategy cards, and then the Marine strategy cards. So let's start taking a look at these cards individually and some of the components and really take a look at how this game is played. Let's start by breaking down the card of each character so we understand everything that is on the card. The first, the M, of course, is movement. Then the CC, which is close combat. And these numbers will make sense as we talk about combat and movement and so forth and so on. Range skill. Then you have strength, conditioning, leadership, wounds, and armor. Then listed is usually their weapons. And over here, the strength of the weapon, the rate of attack of the weapon, and then anti-vehicle value, which there are no vehicles that come with the game, but in future expansions there will be. Now here, as you can see, I have some tiles set up, just so we can explain some of the basics of how things go. Each model is allowed 2 actions, and actions are pretty basic: movement and fire, open a door, or fire, move and open up a door, or any other particular action that may involve using an action point. All movement is hidden. These are pogs, and unless they're seen by another enemy and cross an enemy's line of sight, they are not revealed until then. These blips, as they call them, could be anything. They could be fake, or they can be a particular model with a heavy artillery gun or anything, but they are just radar blips until they come across someone's path. Once somebody comes across the path, both models have to reveal themselves. And in this case, it would be a predator. And on this case, of course, it is our Marine. Now, once a door is open, using an action, then anything inside a room would be revealed, as in here we have 2 aliens. Movement is considered 1 entire square. Once you're in the same square, you are locked in that square. You can roll to leave there by testing your leadership value. Once in the same square as a model, you are considered in close combat, and we'll explain combat very soon. Now the predators are pretty unique because once they get into combat, if they kill something, the model is taken and replaced with skulls. And usually there are certain objectives that the predators have to collect so many skulls to win the game. And it really adds a lot of flavor to the game because they become their trophies. So once you kill, maybe in hand-to-hand combat, and are able to take this as a trophy, it stays with you as a complete kill, which is a very interesting mechanic. So let's explain combat here. How does combat work? Very simply. First, let's say that the alien is attacking this Marine. He is in close combat range, so they are considered engaged. Now, his close combat is 15, so the alien, because he's so strong in close combat, would have to roll under 15 on a d20. He rolls a 12. Now, the Marine has a value of 13. So now any modifications would be taken into account, which is done by the strength. The strength 10 is 0, and I will show you the chart afterwards. So now, to make a save, this Marine would have to roll under a 13. And he does, and he's completely safe with a 4. Now, automatic hits are a 1 and do damage with no armor save. Critical fails are a 20. If rolling a 20 on any kind of save, on any kind of hit, it is considered a failure and you lose an action. So if you had an extra action, you would lose it because it was such a critical miss. But let's say, for sake, that this was a ranged attack and the Marine was actually firing this time. The Marine with a range skill of 14 would have to roll under a 14, which here he rolled a 16, which would not be good. But let's just say he rolled a 10 and he was using his pulse rifle. The alien has an armor of 13, but the strength is 12, which means a -2 to the alien's armor, which means that he would have to roll an 11 or better to save, which he rolls a 5 and he's safe, which means he can move even closer to engage and tear apart our helpless human. So if you remember, during close combat and range combat, I was talking about modifiers. Well, as you can see, a strength 16, anytime you test with strength, there are modifiers. A 10 is always 0. So with a strength 16 weapon, when the model would have to take an armor save, it would be -6. So say the alien here, who has a 13 armor, took 6 off that. That means on a d20 they would have to roll under a 7 to survive. Then they would take any kind of wound damage, and most of the models only have 1 wound, except for the Predators that each have 2 wounds. Now during the game, each player is allowed to have 5 cards in their hand, and at the beginning of their turn, if they use any cards, they're allowed to draw up to 5 cards. But the neat thing about this game is that there are cards that at the beginning of every turn affect the entire game, and these are called event cards. This particular one, electrical feedback. Roll a d20. Each model that successfully removes any door tile from the game this game turn on a roll of 1 to 5 receives a strength 10 auto hit. So this is something that you have to take in consideration because it adds a different flavor. It adds something. Maybe you want to go through that door, but do you really want to take a chance with maybe 1 wound of an alien to go through a door when you're trying to go get that Predator? I think I'd just leave the door closed if I were you. But there's also cards that you can play from your hand. And these cards do all kinds of different things. Like Swarm, for instance. Target any alien model. The target model receives a +1 modifier to its close combat, so it gives you even a better chance to hit and tear up the Predator. Or the Predator may play a card. Target model loses 1 action point once it is activated, and they can just play this at any time. So now you're thinking that you would open that door to go after them. Once you open that door thinking that you would be able to attack, well, guess what? he just plays a card that takes away your actions, and now you're a sitting duck for the predator to rip you to shreds. This game has so much flavor and so many different variances. Also a neat little variant is the many and tons of different tiles that come with this game. And something that I found that was really interesting was actually these tiles here. They're called air vents, and only the smaller models can get through, such as the small aliens. So just like in the movie, say a predator's bearing down on you and you really thought you had nowhere to go. Well, you can go into the air vent, and when the predator comes through, his base is too big to get in there, and you're able to get away. Maybe you walk into an ambush. Who knows what you walk into? But these vents can help you get to one side and get around areas that you didn't think you can get around, and help decrease the chance of the predator hunting down its prey. This game comes with so many great tiles and so many variances, but some of the beauty of this game really comes from the detailed rule book. Not only do you get all the rules, but you get an ability to create your own characters. You can create your own predators. You can create your own aliens and marines with different types of weapons, as well as bringing in a whole bunch of just really extensive and a lot of fun campaign missions that include some of the expansions that'll also be coming out. But that's not all it comes with. It comes with advanced rules where you can get experience and level up your character and build your own force lists so you can have even battles, as well as adding different kinds of skills to your aliens, your humans, your predators, really making this a beautiful role-playing game as well. And also on the back, a detailed turn sequence so you can follow it and everything just flows together very nicely. So what do I think about this game? Let's go up top and hear what I have to say. Wow, what a shocker. Because a couple of weeks ago, if you've seen my episode of Board Game Breakfast, where I took and I really tore up these miniatures, I've got to tell you, when I got into this game and we did a live playthrough on my channel, it was the kids and I just sat there and taped it. I'll tell you, we haven't had as much fun with the game as we had with this, and we've played it numerous times since then, and I have to tell you, each experience was different, but everyone was so balanced and so much fun. The kids love this game. I love this game. Proteus, you've done a wonderful job, and I hope you come out with more expansions for this. This is a tremendous effort, and for a Kickstarter, which I'm not a big fan of Kickstarter, what a great job. Wonderful, wonderful components. The models, again, I still stand by what I feel about the models, but hopefully they'll improve that in the expansions, and they see this and maybe they take a few lessons from some of the people that have complained about it. But this really is a good game. The funny thing about it is I've always been a big Space Hulk fan, so when I would play Space Hulk, I go, wow, boy, wouldn't it be cool, you know, if we just pretend these were aliens instead. Well, now I have this game and I'm going, well, this is kind of Space Hulk, but it's really not, because of all the variants and everything that you can do with it. It gives you immeasurable imagination to one game is never the same. Once you get done with the campaign, you can build your own maps. You pull those mission cards and nobody knows what you're doing, or maybe you guys reveal what you're doing. Each deck, now every time it changes how it's going to go through the turn. You know, something could be heading and you could be heading and doing something and almost ready to do something, and all of a sudden one of those event cards come out and ruin your plans, or somebody plays a card and just takes away an action from you and ruins everything and you're a sitting duck. It's a great game. I really enjoyed it. I've got to give it an 8.5. I'd even go as far as a 9. I just really want to see what the expansions are like, and all I have to say is this was a lot of fun and really worth the money. If you guys can go out and get it, I think you would really enjoy this board game. That's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time. I'm Rob Oren.